So Kaizoku x Gokaiger has come out for the TTFC with their crossover special. A battle between pirates, the world pirates Kaizoku from Zenkaiger and the Gokaiger space pirates. But first, I want to talk about the first Gokaiger movie before we set sail on that. Kezza Henshin. I have wanted to do a review/discussion on the Gokaiger 10 years after movie, as I am a major fan of the Gokaiger series, and one of those hugely disappointed in the American counterpart, Super Megaforce. I wasn't going to mention this in this video, but I believe it wasn't the actors at all that made the show bad, but the lazy writing from the producers. Sorry, you may agree or disagree, but that is my thought on the matter. Over and done. This doesn't mean that I didn't have problems with this film though. I was initially impressed to see these characters again, together, kind of. But they were building up to something great. One thing at the very end ruined it all for me. How do I feel about it? Well, let's talk it through. 10 years after the Gokaiger defeated the Zanyak, we see the rubble of our dear ship. And in the silence, we see Joe standing and looking at the flaming wreckage with an evil glare. Broken and maybe even scared. However, I was living for this drama with Joe, Guy, and Marvelous at the beginning, but let's continue. Doc returns to Earth and learns about the battle arena, where daily, the past Sentai fight for the audience's enjoyment, with families betting their own incomes and pocket money to win. It's an official betting sport, with talkers and announcers commenting on the play-by-play of the fights amongst old and new Sentai, such as Aka Ninja and Dyna Black. We have a great cameo of Matsumoto Hiroya playing himself, and there is this great bit of breaking the fourth wall as he looks at the audience. Just great additions like this are nice. The betting, however, is not so great. The whole country is now obsessed with the betting system of who will win, getting the children all the way to the elderly involved. Excuse me, is that you? Too soon? Now a reminder, the Sentai fighting are not the Rangers themselves, but the Ranger Keys from Gokaiger. So in their mind, they can keep fighting and fighting these events forever. But as many of us should know, this is kinda bad. Don watches over, obviously concerned, while we go to the Ministry of Defense, where they discuss the success of their system while showing a horrifying scene of the Ranger Keys stacked in rows. This is a weird situation, especially looking at that torture device, which is Busco's Rapparata. And we see our guy, our sweet bun, is involved. No, he thinks he's protecting the Earth, but it's just so obviously the opposite. You're too naive. He even evil laughed. How can you believe this guy? Don gets invited to join the betting, and Guy's excited to see him and rushes off. Isn't it weird that he knew who and where Don was? Just me? Doubting that the Gokaigers would give their Ranger Keys so easily, we find out that Marvelous is still a wanted criminal with a reward of 100 million for his head. But apparently arrangements have been made. Okay, creepy guy in the corner, I'm watching you. Don is now fully engrossed with the idea of gambling. This is why he can't be left alone. And cue Guy running through the door and leaping upon Guy. Upon catching up slightly, Don explains he may have sold his Ranger Key for extra cash. Life has been hard since the crew dispersed and the Gokai galleon sank. We see what each person has done in this absence. Marvelous crash lands on Earth in a rust bucket that barely holds together. Arriving in style, I see though, with an eye patch, and I like the look. I'm as in Crystalia, acting a bit shady, but asking for a favor. And Joe is still watching the flames burn? I know Joe was the mysterious type, but has he done nothing else since the galleon went down? We see where Navi ended up as a fortune teller for betting odds, as Marvelous watches on and Luca closes on her prey, Marvelous himself. And another little addition from Matsumoto Hiroya, where both his past Ranger characters lose. This is such a well done bit as he cries to himself. Luca comes in to deliver her prey, grabs her reward money, and as she leaves, drops her Ranger Key on the floor. It seems the crew has truly broken up and gone their separate ways. My heart. And in disagreement for how they are using the Ranger Keys, Marvelous bets his Ranger Key for all of the others. This obviously gets everyone hyped and ready to bet. Guy feels betrayed while Marvelous wins against all the Ranger Keys, commenting on how can he lose to soulless puppets. Just showing the might but mostly the endurance of Gokai Red. He gets to the last fight and it's Guy himself, a battle between friends, and here we go. Of course everyone is hoping for Guy to win so they can keep the betting going, which is kind of like our honest look at gambling at the moment. And about to land the finishing blow, something interferes with Marvelous which allows Guy to win. Cheating! I say cheating! When Marvelous needs to hand over his Ranger Key in defeat, I'm, as the pirate queen she is, swings in and blasts away in retreat, saving Marvelous. In the retreat, we see a sweet moment between I'm and Marvelous, showing that Marvelous didn't like seeing the legends used for profit, which is so deep, and they wonder if this planet is worth protecting anymore. While planning the next move, they are ambushed by the now illegally used Ranger Key souls, as Guy and Masatoshi, their helper, realize that this is all wrong, and they wake up in a cell. Well done, guys. We see a typical Guy reaction to their situation, which is nice to see, but Don shows his transmitter so they can hear the evil guy's plan to conquer space with the Ranger Key souls as their army. Don makes a brave sacrifice, allowing Guy and Niwano to escape. They get saved by Joe, who has finally stopped sitting by the flaming ship. Of course, Guy is excited with that over-expression. Joe demands they go find Marvelous as he transforms. I kind of cried at this moment. It's just so good to see him. Talking about hype moments though, Guy finds Marvelous and I'm, passing on Red Ranger keys to them, and we get this fantastical showcase of both I'm and Marvelous as the newer Red Rangers. We also get this lovely rekindling of friendship between Guy and Marvelous. His smile is impeccable! Is this a new catchphrase I have? I mean, I don't hate it. Continuing on, we get to see the truth of Marvelous's plan. We see the aftermath of the Gokai Galleon battle, Marvelous down and his eye bleeding. We meet the Bakut pirate crew and find out that they disguise and infiltrate planets, leading to the destruction of 129 planets so far and the loss of Marvelous's left eye. Joe comes in to say it's strange that they got the better of him, and we get this awkward twinge in the conversation and it makes my heart hurt. Also, remember the scene for later on. Also, this fucking line from Joe, kill me now. Also, he saved the galleon's soul. Joe for best boy. The crew reveals to Guy that they did not disband. And thank gosh. This is such a feel-good moment and why I still think Gokaiger is the best Sentai. Same. And they set off for the final plan. Don is being tortured by the Minister of Defense, and Luca comes in with perfect timing, broadcasting the truth to everyone online, revealing their true plan and forms with the Shield of Veritas, what I must have grabbed from Castalia. 3 of the 4 transform to reveal themselves as aliens and the Bakut pirate crew, as Luca transforms into Gokai Green and Don to Gokai Yellow. Fighting ensues as Marvelous confronts them with his team in tow, dressed like the series, and they transform. This is such a hype moment for me. Just watch them fight, and the galleon wants to help, using its ultimate power. He now has a cape, and they have weapons based on their weapon of choice. Can I just say that these special effects are so satisfying? And with the music, I can't. Gonna feel this one for a while. Navi pops up finally after the end of the fight, but I kind of understand why they didn't add Navi to everything else, as it would have been hard to add them in. But they announced the 45 season version of Hero Getter. I was singing the whole way through this. Now, I've been singing its praises all this video, but now it's time for me to complain a little finally. This ending. Why? They sit down and eat food, like at the beginning of the season, which is great, and the situation about Marvelous's eye comes to the conversation. This whole movie is built around this powerful situation where Marvelous lost his crew, supposedly, his galleon, and his eye. He was set up with a perfect motive and revenge plot, and we get this impressive line from Joe. And remember I said to remember this scene? Marvelous doesn't say anything, but keeps us thinking he actually lost his eye. And what do? They ruin it by saying it's just a sty. Why? I think Marvelous should have kept the eye patch. He's a pirate for flipping sake. Like, it's not too random if you're planning to stereotype, which normally I would hate. But this time, it fits his character. It fits his role and the situation of the Battle of the Sunken Galleon. Also, I want to see more of what happened with our battle. They said tiny snippets, but where was everyone else? Why was Joe there alone at the end? How did the battle go? I may just do my own video and explain it myself in a future video, as I need to know those details. Anyway, before I complain more, let's leave it there. I loved this movie. Mostly. I hope you enjoyed the movie and this video too, and are excited for Tokustasu x Gokaiger. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Here are all my socials. Kezza Henshin. Mata ne.